The tennis world has been in a frenzy, with the US Open approaching the finals soon. There have been a myriad of unexpected twists and turns to keep fans on the edge of their seats. While winning and losing are part of the sport, unwarranted aggression isn't. So when Nick Kyrgios lost and let out his anger on the court, it didn't sit well with many people, including Australian fans, who called him a national embarrassment. Let's dive into it together. First, let's talk about the match. Let's keep Nick Kyrgios' behavior aside for a second. We need to talk about what led him to act out in the first place. Kyrgios had an amazing season, one of his best so far. His last memorable win was against Rafael Nadal in 2014, but since then, he'd just sort of drifted into the tennis world, unsure of himself and unable to recognize and work on his talent. He'd never qualified for a Grand Slam title or even gone past the third round in an Open tournament. Frankly, he didn't really care. But now, Grand Slams are all he cares about. The young athlete has done wonders this season, going for his first ever Grand Slam title. Not only that, but his performance was similar to the legends of tennis. His match against Nadal ended up in a draw, and then he defeated the world number one, Daniil Medvedev. A huge improvement indeed. He was headed straight for the finals, but his success was cut off by Karen Khachanov, and the 27-year-old's mood turned sour immediately. This was completely unexpected for Kyrgios and the people now rooting for him following the drop of Nadal and Medvedev. Following that, his reaction to the unbelievable loss. Okay, now that we know what happened, let's go back to his behavior now. Kyrgios is infamous for his rash behavior in court and in general. At first, both he and his career sucked, but now only one of them has evolved. In the post-match conference, he expressed his hurt and disappointment, but he didn't need to say it because we already saw it. After shaking hands with Khachanov, the Australian immediately turned and smashed his racket on the ground until it broke. But one is never enough, so he took his spare. Did someone say anger issues? Well, his reaction wasn't taken so well by the viewers. Todd Woodbridge expressed his distaste while speaking on the Channel 9 coverage. After watching the replay, he said, "That's not great at all." Piers Morgan gave a pretty 18+ rated comment, but said that bleep heads never change their spots. According to him, the entire thing left a sour taste in his mouth. He asked Kyrgios to grow up, as what he did was pathetic. There's a lot more where that came from. CNBC journalist Jude Saneth stated that he's glad Kyrgios didn't win. The kind of aggression he demonstrated is disgraceful and has no place in any kind of sport. Saneth didn't just stop there. He criticized all the fans who encourage such acts and even go as far as to romanticize them. It's a huge red flag. It continued with a Sportskeeda tennis writer coming out to say that Nick Kyrgios embarrassed himself in the sport for the 7,439th time. But this is where it got worse. His tantrum was pointed out by Nigel D'Souza, who called Kyrgios a national embarrassment for Australia. Ouch. We guess that's what happens when a grown man doesn't know how to manage his emotions. Adding to that, what did other fans think? Some fans show a more understanding stance, saying that this wasn't an easy loss for the athlete now that he finally cares about his job. They believe that he's learning since he just started taking his career seriously and can easily improve his behavior. There are many lessons Kyrgios needs to learn, and handling disappointment is one of them. But one step at a time is still one step ahead. Tennis writer Ben Rothenberg said that this was the first time that Kyrgios was the favorite to win the event. So while he'll rue that one, the writer hopes that when he does play next, he works on himself and no longer obsesses over it to this extent, because it's getting old. Moving on, what did Kyrgios and Khachanov have to say? Khachanov was delighted at his win after a tense match. He didn't even expect the audience to support him, but he walked onto the court to play well despite all the odds against him, and he came out victorious. He was waving to the crowd when he saw rackets flying around. The Russian stated that he understands what Kyrgios felt at that moment, losing such an important game. He'd feel pretty disappointed too, losing at this stage. Kyrgios confirmed the overwhelming devastation he felt after the match in the post-match conference. Letting down people who count on you is a tough realization to face, and with his newfound interest in winning Grand Slams, it definitely hurt more. His opinion now is that no other tournament matters as Grand Slams do, so he's heartbroken that he'll have to start over in the Australian Open. Kyrgios said that it's either winning all or nothing, and in this event, he failed. Let's not forget that he's not the only one who felt this way. Just in this tournament, Nadal came out to tell the world that he's unsure of when he'll play again due to injuries, personal issues, and the loss he faced. Even Medvedev, who lost against Kyrgios recently, said that he needs a few days to process his loss. Kyrgios is not in the wrong to feel sad, but he's wrong to physically display his aggression. Even though he won against Medvedev, he still shouted and broke a racket out of frustration during the match. Win or lose, leave the innocent rackets out of it, man. Now moving on to other related news that might interest you. First, Nick Kyrgios went home with a loss and a fine. The athlete is headed home back to his ill parents in Canberra after losing an important match against Khachanov. But before he could head home and settle down, the US Open hit him with a hefty fine for his display of aggression, and it's his biggest one yet. Yes, it's not his first fine, and we don't think it'll be his last. The fine was $14,000 for throwing a bottle to the ground and breaking 2 rackets on the court. Bear in mind that he was fined for the same reason after his match with Medvedev. The fines were also for swearing and spitting. If we count his total fines for just this tournament, it adds up to $32,000. We're sorry, what? Now, don't feel too bad because his total prize so far amounts to around $500,000, so it won't dent his earnings from the tournament. And he's gotten a bunch of fines till now, so he's probably used to it. Next up, Carlos Alcaraz and Casper Ruud match winner will go to the finals. Alcaraz reached his first Grand Slam after winning a 5-set match with Frances Tiafoe in the semi-finals at the US Open tournament. He'd always been promoted as a potential Grand Slam champion and is now one step away from it at just 19. If he wins, he'll become the youngest man to win a major title since Rafael Nadal in 2005. What were you doing at 19? He will face Casper Ruud, who landed his opportunity at the finals by defeating Karen Khachanov this past Friday. He won in a tiebreaker match, flexing his brilliant nerves and shots as he remained calm throughout. The 23-year-old is experienced at this, having just lost to Nadal 3 months ago in the French Open final. He's no easy competitor sitting at world number 7. Alcaraz is the 3rd seed, while Ruud won to reach the 5th. Both of them will battle it out in Sunday's final to become the new men's world number 1. The winner will be replacing Russia's Daniil Medvedev at the top of the ATP rankings, who had just lost at Flushing Meadows to Nick Kyrgios. Last, Iga Świątek lets out a nasty detail and then hilariously regrets it. The Polish athlete recently went head-to-head against Aryna Sabalenka and won. She later came out to reveal her reason for the victory, and we bet it's not what you think. On Thursday, Świątek easily lost the first set against her opponent. She then took a break to head to the toilet and came back to dominate in the second set till the end, winning with straight sets. She later said that using the loo helped her feel lighter and release at least some tension. She immediately regretted saying it. The world number 1 used the time to reflect on the first set and about what needed to change when she headed back out. No matter how nasty it is, it worked because she was no longer slugging on the court. She reflected that when younger, she'd go to the loo to cry after losing. Well, she shifted a few steps and now uses her loo time to win, we guess. Drinking energy shots and going to the loo are now good tips for all the tennis players out there. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of Nick Kyrgios' outburst? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos. See you at the next one.